Today, we're going to talk about Dead Poets Society. Yes, this wonderful masterpiece of a movie, and I'm so excited to talk about why you should watch this movie. In high school, one day, my teacher turned on Dead Poets Society, and going into it, I thought it was just going to be another movie that we had to watch for class. But as the movie progressed, I started to really find myself invested in this movie.
Captain, my captain.
And I looked at all of my classmates and realized that they were just as intrigued and wrapped up in this story as I was. From the cool kids to the burnouts to the nerds, everybody was wrapped into this story. I could not believe it.
The heavens made a girl named Chris with hair and skin of gold.
After it was done, I was ready to read the book on it. Turns out, this movie is not based on a book. It is its own thing. That shocked me so much because this is such a well-made movie. And I remember watching this and afterwards rethinking my life and what decisions I was going to make going forward. This movie is phenomenal and it is so underrated, and I want you guys to go watch this movie if you have not. This movie is so special and not talked about enough.
Thank you, boys. Thank you.
So today I'm going to talk to you about why you should go watch this. First off, this just has such a big cultural impact. Little things from this movie have seeded into the rest of our culture and entertainment. A community episode where they go over Dead Poets Society, and it is freaking hilarious. Just watch.
Up on your desk? She made it! Everyone, stand on your desk!
There's other shows and movies where they reference Dead Poets Society and some themes and the things they go over in it. It does have a cultural impact, but sometimes it does get forgotten about.
Oh, can we not throw out the books? Let's go, toss them, guys. Toss them.
I want you to swim in a lake and tell 10 people that you love them.
Dead Poets Society is directed by Peter Weir. He also does The Truman Show.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
I really enjoyed The Truman Show, and I really enjoy Peter Weir's directing in this film. It's a very unique film, but it goes over a lot of cool themes and ideas, and it manages to communicate them to us very clearly. And it stars Robin Williams as Professor Keating, and he does a great job. Absolutely phenomenal.
You can either call me Mr. Keating, or if you're slightly more daring, oh, Captain, my captain.
I am not the biggest Robin Williams fan, so you know I mean it. He's good in some other movies.
Where's my mom and dad?
We don't know.
But this is, I think, his standout performance of his career, personally. As well, this is, I think, Ethan Hawke's big break. He does a phenomenal job as well. His acting is very good, and I enjoy him in other movies as well.
It's all right, son. You just pay me double.
But I think this is my personal favorite of his acting. As well, it has a phenomenal cast of side characters and other main characters who sadly have just fallen to the wayside in Hollywood or just chose not to act anymore. They all do a great job.
I want you seated. Sit down. Leave, Mr. Keating.
This movie features a lot of themes. There are a lot of themes, symbolism, lessons, ideas. If you do watch this movie, it has one main theme of Carpe Diem, seizing the day.
Carpe diem.
Excuse me?
Carpe diem. It's Latin for seize the day.
I think it's become very cliche now and very overused, but it's done very well in this movie. If you want a movie that conveys Carpe Diem or seizing the day, this movie is the best at it and teaches you where this really comes from and what it really means than just having a good day. But there are some other themes here that it tries to accomplish. Here is just a list of some of them. Manhood, what it means to be a man, Carpe Diem, crumbling institutions, legacy, respect, status, pressure, anxiety, depression, life, death, movements, meaning, change, culture, religion, taking one's own life, growing up, self-actualization, conformity, independence, tradition, discipline, reputation, inspiration, and devotion. There's so many good life lessons that this movie tries to teach us. And it's one of the wonderful parts about this movie, and it does it so well, and it's not cliche, it's very real, and can be painful sometimes. It leads to a very fulfilling ending. I love how all the old people are just like rude and old and out of touch. I'm just like, man, this is like a Pink Floyd music video.
No, poems no less. Poems, everybody. The laddie reckons himself a poet.
I don't know if they did that on purpose, but I thought that was funny. One of the biggest complaints about this movie, sadly, is that it's too cliche. It's too predictable. We've seen it before. Simply, that's just true. It is. A lot of these themes and ideas and lessons have been done in earlier movies. A lot of these scenarios have been seen before. The only difference, though, is the execution. Yes, you can go watch a soap opera tomorrow, or you can go watch an Adam Sandler movie. And you can go see about the same sort of scenarios or life lessons or themes. They've been done before. The only difference, though, is the execution. One example, very specifically, that I do enjoy is the character of Knox Overstreet. Personally, he is my favorite character. I enjoy his little character art. He's very quickly in the movie, Knox is presented with an issue of trying to get this girl, Chris. We can guess, having seen any Adam Sandler movie, that the guy gets the girl in the end of the movie. And we can maybe predict he's gonna flirt with her, and then she's gonna say no. And then he's gonna do something dorky and silly, and eventually, this girl will finally fall in love with him. And you can kind of guess that from this. That's almost exactly what happens here. But the only difference is the execution of how it happens. In an Adam Sandler movie or a cheesy movie, it's very predictable. It's very void of life. It doesn't feel real. But this feels very real. You encounter two teenagers trying to flirt with one another and talk to one another, recite poetry. It goes about as terrible as you think it would. Knox comes off as a super creep.
What are you gonna do? I wanna call her.
He stalks her, tries to recite poetry to her. It's very real. She is disturbed by him.
Excuse me. Chris.
Knox, what are you doing here?
But Knox is actually a good dude. They're just awkward teenagers. And this is exactly what happened in a real life situation. This happens every day in the American public school system. Turns out Knox isn't a bad guy and she's not a bad girl. They're just awkward, weird teenagers. And that's what we're here for. It's this execution, to watch this real life example of how this would go down. It's not perfect at all. Knox isn't saying the right things. At the end, he's still not really saying the right things. He's just trying his best. And you become invested in these characters because they are real characters. These people really exist. You can find these people in almost every American classroom and with these problems, and it will happen exactly as it does in this movie. It's like watching a prequel movie. So why do we watch prequels? Like the Star Wars prequel or the Hunger Game prequel. We know who they will become and what they will do. We would like to see how they do it, though. And that's why Dead Poet Society is so good. It's because we get to watch the how and the execution. Yes, these scenes are cliche, and yes, they've been done before. Not only is it just one lesson or two lessons, it's all these different lessons and cliche scenarios all wrapped into one to make one nice, perfect story that's real and convincing and has you invested. Another thing is the dialogue. I love The Social Network, and I love Aaron Sorkin's job in it. He's known for his amazing screenwriting as well as his dialogue.
What is that supposed to mean?
Wait, settle down.
What is it supposed to mean?
Erica, the reason we're able to sit here and drink right now is because you used to sleep with the door guy.
I love that I kind of get that feel here from this movie. When you watch this movie, it isn't back and forth lines of dialogue, but it's small quips, little lines, big monologues, people cutting each other off or arguing or talking over each other. You feel like it's very real and not scripted. There's a scene where the headmaster gets mad at Ethan Hawke for trying to speak out. They talk over each other and you go like, wow, that feels very realistic. It's not just line after line after line.
They made everybody sign it.
Anderson.
You gotta believe me, it's true.
I do believe you, Tom.
Leave, Mr. Keating.
But it wasn't his fault.
Sit down, Mr.
I appreciate it because it very much brings you into the world. They feel like real human beings. Personally, I think this is the best coming of age story there is. I think you could make the argument Scott Pilgrim's better.
What do I do?
Or Baby Driver.
His white shirt clean while the rest of us, we roll in the dirt.
I think for how old it is, it holds up very well. I think this was nominated for Best Picture of the Year and a bunch of other awards. And it's definitely become a cult classic throughout the years. People do appreciate this movie a lot more than when it came out. I love the scene at the end, the "Oh Captain, My Captain" scene. It's very iconic, and it just ends the movie right there. There really isn't anything else that needs to be resolved. It doesn't go on for too long. Our characters' story arcs have completed. My favorite line in this movie is, "The next time I see you, you die."
It's okay. It's okay.
Next time I see you, you die.
Really standout line. I think it communicates to the audience that, yes, this movie can be funny. It has the ability to be funny, but it's really choosing to try to go for a more serious tone to teach us these lessons and these messages. As well as I think this is a work of art. The shots are beautiful, the dialogue's beautiful, so much depth is put into it. It really is language arts, or cinema, or film, or when I watch Ant-Man Quantumania, I know I'm not watching art. the visual artists have put in stuff, but I know I'm not watching like a work of art. Another great reason to watch this movie is just visually. It's super nice and easy to look at. All the visuals are stunning. The nature scenes are great. The camera's positioned very well. It's very easy to look at. It wants you to breathe and to slow down and kind of take everything all in. As well as I just love getting to be one of the boys in this. Don't love the fan edits though. Those are weird, guys. Don't be weird. One scene I do love from this movie is when Ethan Hawke, for his birthday, he gets a desk set from his parents. Ethan Hawke goes through something that should be painful and sad and upsetting and depressing, but instead Neil just shows up and decides to chuck it off the balcony and just laugh it off. Most people would resort to depression or therapy, hold it against somebody, but Neil just laughs it off and tries to remind him that there's a bigger picture to this all. I think this is so important, especially for this day and age. One of the reasons I didn't think this movie was going to be good is because it involves poetry.
Maggots wriggling in their sheep like moving rice. Yuck. That was my haiku about maggots.
And poetry is really not my thing. Poetry really isn't one of the main focuses. It's just a piece to move this movie forward. I kind of had the thought watching it that it really doesn't matter that it's poetry. I think it really could have been anything. I think it could have been like fine art or sculpture or singing or theater or picture taking. Really just any sort of art form to convey the message of Carpe Diem. I think poetry does a great job at this. Another thought I did have is I love that boys and men can watch this movie and really come out of this with a lot of new lessons learned. I feel grateful as a guy to really relate to this movie and get a lot out of it. I wish there was something like this but for girls and women. Maybe there already is. I don't know. I don't know if it's Mean Girls or something, but...
So if you're from Africa, why are you white?
Oh my god, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white.
I'm not a simp, I'm just... You know what I mean, guys, come on. Another thing I wanted to talk about on more of a serious note, and don't worry, YouTube, this is gonna be done well, is when Neil takes his own life in this. And I think this is the best movie ever done. Such a subject like this is done so perfectly and done so well. It's such a serious and hard subject where movies rarely try to tackle this, and if they do, they botch it. And I feel like this message is more important than ever, honestly. It does it in a way where we learn about the character. We see that the character is a good person who comes from a middle-class background with hopes and dreams and this and that. He's a real flushed out person. Then as we watch, he's not able to accomplish those dreams or to be his true self. He begins to see no way out, and with no way out, he takes his own life. And this is done very beautifully and very realistically. This happens for millions of people around the world like this, and it does it on such a serious and convincing and real and painful note. This is our main character. We watch him die in his last final moments. It's not at the end of the movie. It's not halfway. It's 3/4 through the movie at one of the most awkward times. You lose your main character. One of my favorite parts to this, the amazing acting done for these scenes. It is gut-wrenching. It hurts to watch when his parents walk in on him, and their acting is amazing. They kill it. They do a great job at it. That's weird to say. It feels real as well, watching just the aftermath of all of this. Charlie wake up, Ethan Hawke in the middle of the night to give him the news, and just gut-wrenching. Because this is real. This is what happens all the time. And just having to watch the aftermath of what would happen at the school and the real life consequences of all this. And it makes you rethink a lot of things about life. And that is cinema, and that is film, and that is art, and that's why we go to the movies. Another theme as well is this movie does have a lot of themes and lessons and English symbolism and themes and allegories. I especially love the part when Neil, when he does take his own life, before he does so, he does take the little twig crown and wear it. That represents his true self. In his last final moments, he is able to be his real self and be happy. In literary symbolism, we see that the forest or the woods is representative of a place where people can be their true selves. Neil gets to be his real self as an actor, playing in the woods. He gets to be his actual real self, and that just adds a little more depth to the story and a little more beauty to it. There are tons of examples throughout the movie. Like, it's shot during the fall, and as it progresses, it does come to the winter. On like the first night it snows is the night that Neil takes his life. And winter is representative of death in American literature. And there's tons of examples throughout this, and I bet you guys can find more. One of the last things I wanted to talk about is Maslow's hierarchy, or the self-actualization pyramid. And hang on, yes, I understand this is boring, but it's very cool when you actually look at it. Basically, all the basic needs we need as humans to be fulfilled, or the things that we need to be alive. This movie is quite an oddity, because a movie, intentionally or unintentionally, will focus on one of these sole objects usually. This movie picks a character for each of these subjects. I don't know if it's done done it intentionally or unintentionally, but it has done it. And it really lets you know how to achieve carpe diem through all these characters, no matter what stage of life you are at, and how to achieve this carpe diem or the self-actualization. It gives us a couple characters to show this. For self-actualization, we are given Neil. We're given him to show how to get to self-actualization, and he does. The issue is he's not able to accomplish it, and we're able to see the side effects of not being able to accomplish self-actualization. For esteem and respect, we have Ethan Hawke's character shows this. He really just doesn't have that self-esteem aspect. I think that's pretty apparent from that, and really believing in himself. That's what he focuses on and achieves by the end of the movie. For relationships, we do have Knox Overstreet trying to build up his relationship with this girl, and he does accomplish it at the end. For safety, we have Pitts and Meeks. They're really just simply trying to secure an A and just have a good time and just be part of the group. It's not much deeper than that, and they accomplish that in the end. For the basics, which is basically food, water, and shelter, we see that from that stupid redhead kid who rats them all out and is a freaking turd. And then, fun fact, is we get to see Charlie, who has all of these things and doesn't give a frick. He's accomplished all of these. Again, I don't know if it's intentional or unintentional, but I enjoy it greatly, and that's why you should go see it. If you haven't already, better have, or else I just spoiled everything. Thank you guys for watching this so much. I think that's all I got. It's a beautiful movie at the end of the day. It's a masterpiece. One of my top 20. If I had to give it out of a 10, I would give it a 9.6 out of 10. Just know the Lord of the Rings were below that. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching again. Please subscribe and like, support the channel, and until next Friday, I think that's it. Bye!
I want you to swim in a lake and tell 10 people that you love them.